So this time of year, obviously, probably already happened that someone's asked you, what are you giving up for 2017? Or maybe, what are you taking up for 2017? And every year we get asked the same sorts of questions. What are we giving up or what are we taking up? And, some of us get to form a habit for a couple of months at best. For lots of us, the habit sort of is a little idea that lasts a couple of days and then filters off and we don't talk about it anymore. But, this year I really felt God was speaking to me about a different approach to the year. Maybe that's because 2016 was just pretty difficult. And I thought, I'm not sure that it's going to make a huge difference whether I give up chocolate this year or whether I take up crochet this year. But, there's one thing that I know is going to make a difference. And that's to challenge you and ask you, who are you going to follow in 2017? Because this is the question that really underlines the cultural shift that we've seen over the last 18 months. In our nation and even across the world. Our world's been going through something of a kind of cultural transition. We've seen a sort of populist revolution where people have become disillusioned with traditional organizations and establishments. There used to be a time when people say, well, this is my kind of organization, or this is my political party, or this is my institution, or this is the group of people that I associate myself with. And it doesn't really matter who's the leader, I'm just allegiant to this particular group. But over the last 18 months, we've seen a real shift in that. And people have started saying, well, actually, I don't have an allegiance to a particular politic or particular group or particular organization or trade union or institution. I'm just interested in following a charismatic leader. And so we've had a complete change of mentality, and really 40 years of history has kind of given way to something brand new. Lots of the newspaper columnists have been mentioning that. I know we always talk about change, but this really is a change. But I think this year it really, really is a change. There's a change in outlook, and now you get the t-shirt. The slogan's on you. I'm for Trump, or I'm from Farage, or I didn't actually see that one. I'm for May, or I'm for Justin Bieber. I'm for someone. I want to be a follower. And that in itself is unusual, because actually a little while ago it wasn't cool to say you were a follower of anyone. Everyone was saying, I'm making my own track, or I'm making my own way, or I'm fulfilling my own dreams. People were loath to say they were going to get behind anybody else, but now it's like, hey, I'm a follower of so-and-so. I'm following so-and-so down the road. But I want to give you a word of warning. The one person I wouldn't follow into 2017 are the pollsters. They kind of got it wrong, haven't they? They fallen out of favor. There's been barely a poll in 2016 that was actually accurate. And they're the real fool guys, the polls told us so-and-so was going to get it. But I think the fact that the pollsters have got it so wrong tells us something else about the cultural shift. That actually our opinions are less strongly held than they once were. Back in the day, you could kind of say, this group of people are going to roughly think this, and this group of people are going to roughly think that. It doesn't really matter what you say, they're always going to kind of think this or that. Whereas now you get like a clapometer that goes along with someone's speech. So you can see how someone's opinion is held during the speech. So it's like, oh, there's a high point. Oh, they're so good. Oh, no, now they've fallen out of favor. Now the clapometer's going off. And oh, no, it's wonderful. I'm back in favor again. It reminds me of those two guys from the Muppets who sit up at the top, and it starts, it's fantastic, it's amazing, it's wonderful, it's terrible, I hated it. Boo, rubbish, get off. Fortunately, they haven't devised anything like that for church just yet. The second reason it's problematic is I think our attention is more quickly diverted today than it ever has been before. There are so many things clamoring for our attention. And we live in what's described now as a post-truth age, where lots of people are saying a lot of things that they know aren't actually true, but as long as they kind of grab our attention, we're distracted and we're influenced, and therefore we kind of change our behavior accordingly. It's an incredible amount of influences in our world. Those are broad influences, and we are broadly distracted by them. So I want to challenge you and ask you, where are you going to place your attention in 2017? Because that is the big value question. What you choose to pick up or drop down isn't going to make a difference to you in real terms. But what is going to make a difference to you is where you place your attention. Because attention leads to influence, and influence leads to the changing of behavior. So if you've really got a problem or something you need to let go of, you don't start with let going of it. That's the behavioral bit. You start with the attending to it bit. That's the attention part. And actually, attending to something, giving something your attention, will actually transform how you feel about that thing, and that will then transform how you behave towards that thing. And the whole of Christian history is based on this, that Christ came into the world. God made man. He's come and made his home in our neighborhood. And the disciples were suddenly attending to him. He drew their attention and he had an influence over them. And that influence led to a transformation of their behavior. And then the world started to notice. And it was attendant to them. And then it influenced them. And then it transformed their behavior. And then others began to notice. And they were attendant to it. And they were influenced by it. And then they attended to changes in their behavior. And so the church has grown on that same basis. Where our attention is, our influence is exacted. And then our behavior begins to change. The trouble is today, we're attendant to so many things. It's hard to see how change can really come. At Christmas parties, maybe you started talking about who you follow. I mean, that's a whole new conversation. Hey, have you followed any really great blogs recently? Yeah, actually, I now read Mashable and TechCrunch. Oh, what are they about? Well, I don't really know, but that's why I read them. Have you followed anyone recently on Twitter who takes great photographs? Oh yeah, I follow loads of people, particularly clergy at HTB, who take really great Instagram photos. Some of them not so good, but I still follow them out of loyalty. Or do you follow anyone fantastic on Facebook? And this pool of people that you follow, how you describe yourself, how I describe myself as a follower gets bigger and bigger, not smaller and smaller. The thing is that whoever you give your attention to, you also give the power to influence your life, to influence your decisions, to change your behavior, and therefore all the people around you are also influenced by the things that you attend to. Attention is a powerful commodity. Who are you attending to? Those bloggers, Peter Cashmore and Michael Arrington, who run the two blogs that I mentioned, earn over $500,000 a month just by blogging. Imagine that. Have you got any good opinions today? You could write them online and just earn $500,000 just for your opinions. $500,000 a month. Why? Because attention breeds influence, breeds the opportunity for powerful change. In that way, the world is propagating more and more and more voices to change your opinion by drawing in your attention. But as that pool of influences gets bigger, our time resources remain the same. Now, I don't find that the people who I tend to becomes a smaller and smaller group of people. I find it gets a bigger and bigger group of people. So I started off with sort of 10 people I used to follow, but now I've got 500 people I follow, but the same amount of time to follow them in. And so I'm kind of scattergunned all over the place with different opportunities. It used to be that on a Friday night I'd sit down with my wife and we'd pick a movie and we'd kind of sit there together and have a takeout. And then we'd watch a great film, and then after the film we'd discuss what happened. And say, oh, what did you think of such and such a bit? Oh, I really like the bit when. But now I watch a movie and my wife does the shopping online. She's on her smartphone and she waits for me to give her an update on what's happening in the film. I like complicated spy movies. So I'm like watching away, saying, this is really exciting. And she's busy on her smartphone, watching one screen and also supposedly watching another screen behind. And then she says to me, so, Will, has anything happened yet? Well, yeah, the guy at the beginning, he's a spy. And he goes to the train station to meet another guy, and he's a spy, but he doesn't get on the train. And then someone else comes in, and they're going to meet them, and their paths cross, but they miss each other. And then they meet in another train station, and someone else comes in. Oh, so nothing's really happened then? No, lots of stuff has happened, but you kind of have to be watching it. You kind of have to give it your attention if you're going to get into the story. Why don't you just watch? Well, I'm doing the shopping. If you want to go to Tesco's tomorrow, that's fine. Or you can just let me get on with it. We multitask, we multi-screen. We watch TV now with a smartphone in our hands. You can live tweet about that, but most of us aren't. We're tweeting about something else because there's something else going on in our minds. Our attention is being drawn into so many different directions. One great blog called Live Science has recently leaned on research that suggests that we can't actually hold on to all the information that's out there. Surprise. We're only actually able to attend to 2 or 3 pieces of information at one time. That's what's our sort of our working memory it's described as. So whilst we might like to think that we can attend to all sorts of different things, our brains can't really cope. We can only cope with a small amount of information at a time to attend to. So we have this situation where our attention is everywhere, our influences are everywhere, and we're not quite sure how we're being influenced, and we're not quite sure why our behavior isn't what we hoped it would be. We're not quite sure why we aren't seeing the change that we hoped we would see. Attention breeds influence, provides opportunity for change, but if there's so much division in our attention, how is there ever going to be transformation? Oswald Chambers wrote, the most important aspect of Christianity is not the work we do, but the relationship we maintain and the surrounding influence and qualities produced by that relationship. That's the relationship we have with Jesus. That is all God asks us to give our attention to, and it's the one thing that's continually under attack. This core relationship with Jesus is the one thing that we need to attend to, because if we attend to that, it transforms everything around us. And yet that's the one thing that's under pressure. Do you find it when you're trying to have a quiet time? We still use that phrase sometimes. You're still having a quiet time with Jesus. It's like so not quiet. It's the time when like all the kids bundle in and like, Dad, what are you doing with that? What are you doing? What are you up to? Come on, let's play a game. Well, I'm just having a quiet time. Yeah, but that's like, we've got stuff to do. Or like you're on the train and, it's like a quiet time and it's so not quiet and everyone's battling around you and the metro's in your face and you just think you'd rather read the front of that than read the Bible in 1 year. It's so difficult, isn't it? But then I think about it and I think about the things that I like to do that I love to do that kind of give me life, and like getting in the sea. They haven't made technology yet to kind of get in the sea because the salt corrodes it all, which is all good because you can kind of get out there and like be on your own. And I can give my full attention to that. So then I'm asking myself, why can't I give my full attention to the person I really love? Why can't I give my attention to Jesus? Why is it so hard to give my attention wholly and fully to the one I really love? Well, I guess I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about marriage. And if you're married here tonight, you probably know what that looks like. We spend so much of our married lives giving our partners the rough end of the deal. Oh, I'm grumpy and tired before work. I'm grumpy and tired after work. You only get the bits of me that are grumpy or tired. But actually, why aren't we giving ourselves to one another the best parts, the greatest bits, the good stuff, the full attention? My influencers in 2017 say that I need wealth, health, fashion, and impact to be really happy in the year ahead. But what I really need is transformation. I need to be transformed by God because the world needs the transformation of the church more than ever today. It needs to see a life-giving, transformed, God-loving church at work in the world right now. And so if the church needs to be transformed, I need to be transformed. We need to be transformed. Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. The renewing of your mind, it's not Sudoku in the mornings. It's not like brain training. It's not doing the crossword in the newspaper. It's not about training your mind. It's not brain exercise. It's the renewing of your mind. The only person who can renew your mind is Jesus. The only person who can actually make your mind new is God. He created you. He's the only one who can reboot your mind and make it new. And the only way we can have a renewal in our mind is by spending more time in the presence of the one who made us. The only way in which we're going to experience transformation and renewal in our minds and therefore give God the attention that he's calling us to give him is to spend time in his presence. Is to give him the attention that he is due. If my life's going to be transformed, I've got to increase the attention that I give to the one who can renew me. The trouble with renewal, though, is that it doesn't look that good. In this time of year, New Year, it's like it's a chance to kind of close the lid on 2016 and open the door to 2017, which sounds like, as the clock ticks into 12, like it's all new, right? It's like everything is fresh. It's a new start. It's a clean sheet. It's a new leaf. I don't know why that particularly, I've never got that turn over a new leaf or turn the leaf over. This morning I was cycling here from home, and I cycle under the Hammersmith bypass, and there's like the two most expensive banners, billboard for advertising. So I always check them every day because it's like, that's the zeitgeist of the era, what's up there, what they're paying for today. And it's been Chelsea Football Club recently wearing blue hats, Christmas hats, saying Happy Christmas from Chelsea, which I personally haven't appreciated, not being a Chelsea fan. But this morning, the 1st of January, I cycle under the flyover. I look up, and there are an incredible set of abs. It's the 1st of January, of course there are. And there's just someone's torso completely ripped and slightly dripping in sweat, like they've been in the gym already, and I was up early this morning, so I'm thinking, wow, they have been up early to work that out. And they're holding up a watch, which is showing how many calories they've already burned today on the first day of the year, already at 7:30 in the morning. And I'm looking up, there's a double header on both screens. It's this is it. It's not slightly chubby person holding up a watch, looking like they haven't started yet and have already eaten a couple of donuts, like most of us. Because that would show renewal, which is you're starting from somewhere and then you're going to get to somewhere through the year. No, this is buff immediately. This is what we really want. It's straight up, you are automatically buff at the start of the year at 7:30 on the first day, and you've already been to the gym and your calorie counter is already looking high. Now, that's what we like. That's what humans desire. It's not slow, gritty transformation. It's like an instant, I'm somehow suddenly brand new. I'm just all glimmering and glossy. We don't like to be transformed. We just want a whole new deal. The thing is, though, that God is going to transform these broken and worn-out tools. That's his work, the work of redemption and renewal. If we have a look at Revelation 21, 5 and 6, you'll see it here on the screen. It says, he who is seated on the throne says, I am making everything new. Then he said, write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. He said to me, it is done. I'm the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give water without cost from the spring of the water of life. This is the business that God's in. Behold, I am making all things new. Not behold, I am making all new things. He is not the God of IKEA. If he wanted flat pack and prefabricated and never to be rebuilt, he would have gone to IKEA, but he hasn't. He's in the business of rebuilding what is broken, what is worn out, and what is solid, and making it new. I was on my way to my flat a couple of years ago, and I passed a building site, as you do, and there was just a drawer on the side of the street. And I looked down, and I walked past it, and then something just clicked in my mind, and I came back to it, and I looked around, and I could see there were other drawers. And I said to the builder that was there, I said, have you got the cabinet unit for this drawer, these drawers? He said, oh yeah, it's over there, mate. I said, I'll give you £5 for it. He said, all right, £5. You sure? You mug. No, he didn't say you mug, but that's basically how he looked at me, you total mug. So I was like, yeah, thanks. So I gave him £5, and he looked happy as Larry. And this particular set of drawers, do you remember those stickers you used to have in the old days? Like when I was a kid, and you'd stick them on things, and then as you tried to peel them off, there was a film bit that came off, and it left a horrible piece of furry paper that you could never, ever get off. It was like that. All the drawers were covered in those, not the sticker, just the furry paper. And then whoever lived in the house, obviously chain smoking, so it wasn't furry paper, it was black tar that stuck onto the furry paper. So that you could see why the builder thought I was a mug, because it was pretty disgusting. But you know what, I saw something in the shape of the drawer that made me think that actually I would be happy to give £5 for that particular drawer. And so I took the whole lot home and I set to work on it, and it took me weeks and weeks to scrub off those horrible stickers and that disgusting tar. But when I'd finished scrubbing, I found that I had a split walnut bureau. It was absolutely beautiful. Had lovely arced drawer heads and beautiful swallowtail joints. And now it sits in my house, and it has done for a number of years. And it's my most prized piece of furniture. And I bought it for £5. And I'm thinking, who's the mug now? And you know what? That's just a little picture on the work of renewal that God's into. He sees the beauty of what he's created, but he also sees how soiled and marred it is. And he paid a far greater price for it, but he takes it home and he makes it new. It's precious. That's the work that we're called to, not just to cycle under the flyover and have instant abs, but just to say, God, I'm ready for the work of renewal and transformation. I'm ready to be worked on by you, and I'm going to give you my attention. I'm going to give you all of my attention. A few years ago, I made this resolution that I was going to run much more. The trouble is, I'd seen Wolverine with Hugh Jackman, who was like 48 and so ripped, it was disgraceful. So I watched Hugh Jackman running around, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm like 36. 37, I need to do that thing. If he can do it, then I can do it. So I said to everyone, I've got this new fitness plan. It's called Fit for 40. So I'm thinking I'm going to give myself 3 years. I think he probably did it in about 6 months, but I'm going to give myself 3 years to get the kind of Hugh Jackman workout down in a big way. So for the next 3 years, I'm running around like a headless chicken. I am literally on my bike everywhere. I'm running 6 days a week. My gym kit is running around the house on its own, which my wife was not happy about. And, I'm all about the exercise in a major way. I'm giving all of my attention when I'm not working to running everywhere. And that's all good for 3 years. But let me say that in 3 years, not a single person commented about my fitness. Not a single person said to me, hey, Will, let me just sit down and have a chat with you about how fit you are. Like no one said, oh Will, you seem like really fit. Can you give me some sports advice? No one did any of that. No one seemed to notice. No one seemed to notice anything other than the fact that I seemed to be running around all the time, was slightly sweaty all the time, a little pink in the face. No one said anything about my fitness. You know what? In 3 years, not a single person celebrated my fitness, apart from the ambulance man that drove me to hospital in the summer. That's it. He's the only guy. So I'm taken by ambulance in the middle of the night because the bottom part of my spine has exploded, and I'm lying on a stretcher, and I'm put in the ambulance, and he's giving me a massive shot of morphine and loads of gas and air, and then he straps on the heart rate monitor, and then he says to me, he looked like quite a fit young man, so I was thinking, we'd probably like share notes and stuff about sports. And then he said to me, Will, have you got any, pre-existing heart problems? I thought, no, not that I know about. He said, it's just because you've got really an unusually low pulse. All right. An unusually low pulse. That's to do with my fitness, my sports, the sports I've been doing for the last 3 years. He said, so, what's your usual resting pulse? I'm thinking, great, this is a conversation I've been dreaming about for 3 years, not in this context. So I'm like, 38 to 41. Come on. He said, that explains it then, because, your heart rate's really low, considering you're in absolute agony. It should be a lot higher than it is right now, so that helps a lot. That was it. That's the only conversation I had in 3 years about my extreme fitness. I've been attending to running all the time. I've been investing myself in all this jogging around and all this cycling. And actually, the only person who's going to say anything about it is the guy who's taking me to hospital in an ambulance in the middle of the night. And then I have major spinal surgery. And at the end of it all, my surgeon sits me down and says, well, you should be able to get back to doing, most things over time. But you just can never, ever run again. Oh, you're the best crowd I've had all day. I had to milk it all for like a little bit of an hour. But you guys are right in there. You must be softening at the end of the day. It's good. Filled with compassion for me. But I really, that was it. I spent 3 years running around on the Hugh Jackman plan to find out that the thing I thought was going to transform me from the outside in was actually destroying me from the inside out. And isn't that true for so many of the things that we give our attention to? We think, this is going to change me. From the outside in, I'm going to do this new diet plan this year. Or, this is going to, really work for me. I'm going to, do this language school overnights. Or I'm going to do this, and this. Lots of it's benign and lots of it's not really bad. It's just not going to transform us. And at worst, it's not going to do us any good. But there's one person to whom we can give our attention in a major way that will be seriously good for us, that will really transform us from the inside out, will really make a difference to the world around us. That actually, when we give our attention to Jesus, we are being transformed, even if it seems to be taking an awful long time. And normally it takes more than a lifetime. But when they bury us, they're going to leave two things behind. The first thing is our character. That's what the world remembers about us. And the second thing is our spirit, and he's going to dwell with Jesus in heaven forever. So we might as well attend to the two things which we're going to leave behind, the two things which are going to live on, our character and our spirit, and not worry too much about those other things. To say, actually, my first call is to give Jesus Christ my full attention. The word disciple literally means to become a learner or a pupil. I'm not surprised it's not that popular. I did English A-level. I never read Vanity Fair. But I did read the York Notes and I watched the film. And I did really quite well, which my English teacher wouldn't be too happy about if he was listening to this talk online, which he maybe is. Pray that God he is. Thing is, Christianity is just not like that. There isn't a York Notes. There's not a film. There's lots of films, but you know what I mean. There's not one definitive film. And so it's just an ongoing relationship with Jesus. No one's going to go, hey, let me talk to you about your fitness. Wow, you've really done it. Here's a medal. But people will talk to you about your relationship, and that's far more precious. People are going to tell you, oh, yeah, you've jumped through all these different amazing hoops. Well done. Here's a prize. But actually, you get to live in love for eternity with the one who created you. And that's worth everything. That actually, if we say, God, you know what, this year there are so many voices clamoring for my attention. There's so many influences on me. There's so much here that could drive me off track, but I'm just not going to go down that road. I want to go down your road this year. I want to give you my full attention. Then we've chosen something that is truly, truly valuable, truly transformative, truly wonderful. You know, the danger of Christianity is that we could just be going through the motions year on year. And our roots can be out of the ground. See that tree? It's great. No expense spared here at HTB. It's still got its pins and needles. It's a great Christmas tree, but it's dead. And it looks good. Its needles haven't dropped yet, but it was dead about a week after it came out of the ground. And actually, so many of us in faith can find that our roots have been cut off and we look like full of bushy branches. We can even hold a few baubles and a bit of tinsel, but you know, actually, we're really dying inside. We're really drying up because we're not plugged into the person who created us. We're not giving attention to the person of Jesus Christ. We're just here, you know, standing in the corner, happy Christians, here I am. Still got my needles, I must be okay, but you know what? We're dead and buried inside. Over the next week, you guys will be throwing away your Christmas trees. You know, it's weird in London, people do that. They feel okay about just chucking them out on the street. And you can see who the wealthy neighbors are because they've got their ones still have the needles on. Your one looks like something from a Western movie. It's just a kind of little bit of tumbleweed, like it's out there, totally brown and rolling around. But you'll see that. This is Mr. and Mrs. Rowlands. Let's see them. This is their house in 1978. And they decided that actually they'd replant the Christmas tree that they bought for £6. It's a good decision, I think, because they actually didn't have very much foliage in their front garden at the time. So it was a good way to spend £6, seeing as they'd bought a nice shrub, they might as well use it. And here they are today. And here's their shrub. It's a 52-foot tall Norwegian spruce. And it's very nice, I think you'll agree. You see, they actually haven't needed to plant anything else in their front garden since, either because a 52-foot spruce is enough to take up most of your front garden. I think that's what they found anyway. They have to hire a cherry picker every year to put the lights on. They put 1,000 tungsten bells on there, apparently. And it's become a bit of a tradition in their little town of Inkelbarrow, in a small village somewhere. And the nice thing about it is that loads of people from the town come round and, you know, they enjoy the tree. They have a little ceremony every year to kind of get Christmas started just outside their house. They didn't know that in 1978, when they planted that tree, they were going to end up with a 52-foot Norwegian spruce, but that's what they got because they ultimately invested in the roots of the tree. And you know what? Over the next 30 years or 40 years or however long you've got, that's what God wants to do in your life. He wants to plant you deeply and richly into Him so that you can actually grow up and bear real fruit that will last. As you give your attention to Jesus, he will influence your life. You will be transformed. Your behavior will change, and the world will see that change, and its attention will be drawn. It will be influenced by you, and its behavior will change. If we're rooted in the person of Jesus Christ, if we give him our full attention, we will be transformed. A.W. Tozer said, only a disciple can make a disciple. We have to make it our business to be attentive to Jesus in 2017. And then the world that is so clearly broken and messed up has a hope. It doesn't have a hope with a world of voices, the cacophony of different ideas, if it isn't giving attention to Jesus. And that's why here at HDB this month, we're going to launch the biggest discipleship program in the history of this church. At the end of this month, Nikki's going to tell you all about discipleship here at HDB. And what we're going to do is link together the Bible in 1 year and the discipleship program of every connect group in this church. So what you study during the week on the train or in your house, on your app, will link directly to what you're then going to be discussing and teaching within your connect groups. And that's all going to link directly into everything that's preached here on the stage at HDB. So the discipleship plan will run through your personal devotion with Jesus through the Bible in 1 year app, your collective discipleship experience as a connect group, and then your corporate discipleship experience as a church. You'll be able to actually link together all the things that you see. If you miss church, you'll still be connected in. If you've got an opinion, you'll be able to share it in your connect group. And then there'll be other modules to this, like social transformation, building a social conscience for our society so we can see the work of Jesus outworked on the streets of London. And in the life of the church here, in terms of how we serve and how we give and how we pray. And that's because we all believe, Nikki and Pippa more than any of us, that actually it's the discipleship, it's the experience of the church pressing into the person of Jesus Christ that is actually going to change this nation. We believe it. We believe it, and we want to start here today by saying, press in, give him your full attention in 2017. Give it to him. He is worth it. He's the only one. Give him your full attention. Who are you going to follow in 2017?
I'm Bear Grylls. My favourite way to start the day, the Bible in 1 year. That's how wild I am.
Find out more at BibleIn1year.org or download the Bible in 1 Year app.